Yeah, see you in a bit. Thank you, John. That well done, man. It looks very, very cool. I'm going to, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm excited. This is a first. How are you, Mark?
I'm great. How are you, Miguel?
I think we're generally live. Yeah, see you in a bit. Thank you, John. That yes. Well done, man. We're definitely live. It looks very, very cool. For everyone watching right now, yeah, obviously we're amateurs with live streaming, so we're playing with this. But I'm really happy. I want to thank John Condit for giving us a pretty amazing platform. That it looks sweet. I'm ridiculously excited about how good that looks. Mark, I wish you were seeing it, but you'll see it on video yourself. I'm going to start recording on this end. That way we can save these conversations for posterity. I see Jenny saying she hears us, and I'm going to repeat, even though I said this earlier, Jeffrey Pearson chimed in with the chat with, nothing gives a guy an edge like a little death. So I want to introduce the, I said this in the intro, but I'll say it again, the auteur who birthed the fun you just got to see, Mark Bessenger, director, writer, creator, other hats wearer, I'm sure, of Ninja Zombie. Welcome.
All right, thanks. Hi, everybody.
Why don't you respond to that quote real quick?
You know, that's one of the things people say they notice a lot about my films, that there's so many quotable lines in them. It's just, I don't know where it came from. It's just a line I came up with when I was writing the script and, you know, kept it in. So
we've got Steve on chat saying the film was fun. Thanks for speaking with us. Yeah, I have to say thank you as well.
That's one thing I've really been surprised about, is just how well it's been received since it's gotten released by AGFA. You know, looking back on it now, I just kind of winced my way through it, because it's just like, it's, you know, like I said, we shot it on Super 8, and if we had known what we were doing, we should have transferred the rushes to video and edited on video. But, you know, Super 8 is it's a reversal stock. So what you shoot on is what you get back. And we have our little plastic moviola, and we're running it through that. And I would take the rushes to the park and sit in the sun and just like pull them and look at them, and, you know, not realizing that I'm just like scratching the hell out of it. And, you know, so yeah, we should have taken it to video and edited that way. But again, like I said, we didn't realize what we were doing. We're actually splicing and cutting the actual film, and
the tape and everything.
And you can see those splice marks in there, and occasionally a grease pencil mark and all kinds of stuff. But apparently that just adds to the charm of it, you know. And so you know.
I actually, I mean, I didn't want to interject in case you were going to say something more, but I think it does. I think seeing the splice marks is part of the charm, like you said, the charm of it. It's part of what makes it fun. I certainly think that the audience who craves a film like Ninja Zombie, that's one of the things that they're going to love about it. And what's beautiful, for the most part, and I certainly think this is true with guys like the people who run AGFA, it's not an ironic love. Like, it's something pretty genuine about, I've been calling this, AGFA seems to seek these out. And we talked about this for our intro, so I don't want to belabor like how it was rediscovered after time and that kind of thing. People should watch the intro. Hopefully you all did before watching the film. But it just makes me wonder, this film coming back to like, how many more shot on video or shot on 8mm or these kind of what I have started calling kids with cameras movies are out there. You know, this past December, when we were all still, you know, human beings who could leave our houses, We showed via AGFA the Friday the 13th mixtape. Did you see any of that?
I've not seen that, no, but I heard about it.
Okay, so we showed that, and in a theater, because it was Friday the 13th, and I said, oh,
Yeah.
why not? And shockingly, only two people like got up and left.
Really?
Yeah, only two. And I saw them in the theater at the beginning, and I saw to myself, I wonder how long these people are going to last. But those two, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure they don't know what they're in for. Because it is. I mean, like, your film is like, I don't know, it's a masterpiece of filmmaking in comparison.
DIY filmmaking.
No. In comparison, your film is legitimate to some of the stuff. Because it's like,
I'm sorry. In that vein, and we talked about this already, but AGFA actually had a screening of it at the Alamo Draft House in Austin, and they invited me to come out, and I did, and it was the first. It was only the second public screening this movie's ever had in its entire lifetime. We had a cast and crew screening, and that was it, and then nothing for like 28 years, and then suddenly, so I go to Alamo Draft House, and and I didn't know what people were going to think of it. I went in there knowing that it was a 98 seat theater and it was completely sold out. And so I'm not sure how people are going to take it. So I go in there and they ask me to introduce it. So I do. And I basically say, look, it's shot on Super 8 film. We did what we could with it. My only wish is that you have fun. Just have fun with it. So I go and I sit down and the movie starts and people start laughing. And of course, they start laughing. They're laughing at it because it looks cheap and the acting's not quite on. But as it goes on, I notice that the laughing starts changing and they're not laughing at it anymore. They start laughing with it. And when it got to the big climax with the three-wheeler, they jumped and people were like screaming and cheering in the theater. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this movie finally, it took a little while, but it got them. It finally got them to go with it. So that was the best thing I could hope for when I saw this with an audience.
Yeah, and I was really hoping to have an experience like that with it too. These viruses and what they do to our whole society.
Yeah.
By the way, I do want to say for people who might watch this as a video later, and to you, Mark, even though I suspect you can infer, if I keep looking to the side, it's because I'm addressing the people who are chatting on the chat screen, which I have over here. It's like NORAD, I've got all my screens. And I'm going to try to chat with everybody too. I do want to say, Steve says, I like the rough look of it. Jeff says, I can't get the Tim Burton Batman theme out of my head. It seems to have been subtly lifted. I want to think about themes in a second, actually, on that note. And then Jenny says, A is for archive. It's all a part of film history, which I absolutely agree with. And 8mm is indeed film. So we'll come back to that. But so you started making this in 91. Batman was 89. Did that have anything?
When we were looking for the theme for the film, we had a composer named Stephen McIntosh, and we kept trying to come up with something good, something that was exciting, but something that was dark. And I would play for him the main titles to Batman Returns. And I said, I want something like this, but not this. And everything he came up with sounded exactly like Batman Returns. So finally, I'm like, I'm going to think of something. So I went over to him and I'm like, okay, let's do this. Da 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 da. And he's like, that's Batman Returns. You just started in the middle and looped around to the beginning. And I'm like, so it took him a while, but he finally got it. But it is reminiscent of Batman Returns.
So there are three notes that are not reminiscent, but clearly an homage. And it is near the end, near the beginning of the third act, I would say. And it's, dare I say, the creature from the Black Lagoon.
That was my little homage to the creature, because I love the creature.
That was great. I mean, honestly, those are things that I love about it. Jenny, Jenny says, "Do you know when you turn?" Talking to me, that my face disappears. Yes, I am aware. Actually,
It's very amazing, transparent man.
yeah,
Very Lon Chaney.
That's it. That was on. Yes, exactly. It's very Lon Chaney.
No, I'm sorry. That was Indestructible Man. Amazing, transparent man was the other guy, but he's still kind of like wiped, invisible.
I can't see it myself. I'll have to wait.
It's happening. It's fun.
Other people were. Mark, would you like a chance to remake it? That's from Steve.
I would love a chance to remake it. I would like to remake it and make it, maybe try to make a more serious version, make it like a little darker, definitely a little slicker looking. But yeah, I would love to do a remake. You know, we wanted to do a sequel. We had actually talked about, the producer and I had actually talked about making a 30-minute special called A Ninja Zombie Christmas. And we wanted to do like a 30-minute Christmas sequel to it, but it you know, as of so many other projects we wanted to do it, it never happened. But
there's still time, and you know, we do have our Ho Horrible Imaginings Christmas events.
Well, you know, John Hill, who played Ninja Zombie, he lives here in Los Angeles. We've got together a few times to talk about things, but he's still here, and he still looks pretty much the same.
Wow. Well, you know, let's kind of segue a little bit, since you brought up John Hill, because one thing that I do find quite impressive about Ninja Zombie is the choreography. And you know, I've seen a lot of 8mm kind of ninja ripoffs in my days being obsessed with straight to video stuff and really uber DIY stuff. But you know, like there's some pretty nice like fight scenes when all things are considered. So
yeah, thanks. We had two fight choreographers. The guy who's the first leg of the spider cult who gets beaten. He was the sword fight choreographer. The guy in the tennis scene with Brother Banjo, the blonde guy who the ball disappears on him, that was Scott Heap. He was the guy who he was a martial artist, and so he choreographed the other martial arts fight scenes that we did.
Cool.
The ones we did in the quarry, we had put an ad in the paper saying, "Hey, we need extras to come and do this fight scene. So if you're interested, you know, come to the quarry at this time." Nobody showed up, so we had to grab all the grips, all the PAs, you know, any crew who wasn't doing anything, and we said, "Okay, you're playing now." And then the choreographer, Scott, went to each. We paired him up, and he went to each one and said, "Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple little moves to do," and then we shot it like several times and just cut it all together. But yeah, that was done on the spot, that choreography.
I mean, kind of had to be when you're shooting with 8mm, right? And editing and splicing the film itself. All that's going through my head watching Ninja Zombie and how there's actually effort put into it. I mean, I don't say that to be snarky, but I mean, it's really apparent in some of those fight scenes and the makeup too. I wanted to bring that up later, but as long as we're on the fight scenes, I have to ask this. So again, bringing up the 1991 to 1992 date, that's the era of Ninja Turtles, the era of Power Rangers. So the kind of youth martial arts phase was huge, but what I'm reminded of watching Ninja Zombie are more like the canon Shokusugi kind of Enter the Ninja things. What was your influence for ninjas and like I know you, so I know the zombie part. The ninja part, that's new for me.
You know what? I have no interest in martial arts movies. I was never into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was never into the Power Rangers, except the blue one because he was cute. And then I just never saw any of the Bruce Lee movies.
He was brilliant, by the way, Mark. Not to if that's the Blue Ranger was Billy with the glasses.
Yes. And then okay, and I will admit to like I think Rocky took it over later on. But anyway, so I did watch a few of the shows. I'll give it that, but I was not like judo chopping things, when the show was up. But the producer Don Rasmussen knew some people who were in a martial arts school, and so he said, okay, if we want to do something with martial arts, I know these guys. They can do the fights if we need them to. So I'm like, okay. So I started thinking about what can we do. The first thing we wanted to do was we talked about Ninja Vampire, and then but then we thought, well, Super 8 film, doesn't have much latitude when it comes to light. Mm-hmm. So let's do some. We have to do something that's during the day. And so we thought, okay, let's do Ninja Cop, and I didn't like that. And then it's like, let's do Ninja Nuns. We wanted to do it was Ninja Nuns for a while, and then we thought, no, it should be a monster. So we did, okay, what monster can be out in the daylight? Okay, let's do Ninja Zombie. So it became Ninja Zombie, and then so when I was writing the script, I would just put, okay, fight scene here, and then I'd leave it up to Scott or Al to choreograph what needed to happen. I would tell them the locations of what was there, and what they could use, what kind of weapons we had access to, mm-hmm. So if they wanted to incorporate those. But that's just kind of where Ninja came from. We just thought it'd be a good way to put some action in the movie that wasn't like chasing somebody or a car chase or a gunfight, something like that. Just something that was kind of fun and cool.
Yeah, that's actually very Menachem Golan of you, is thinking in those terms. I'm going to take a look at our chat, which has some folks talking. Jeff says, sorry, I got to say this was like a dream come true. Marvel needs to hire you for a feature of Simon Garth from Tales of the Zombie. That entire zombie silent, but knowing this. No, the entire zombie silent, but knowing this life. Excellent sound editing during the fights, it says. The sound synced up better than Adam West's Batman. Actually, that's a nice technical thing about not just the sync sound with fights, but with the dialogue and the talking. And there's probably a lot of ADR going on here. So
actually, not as much as you'd think.
Really?
Almost all the dialogue was done on site.
Okay.
There really wasn't much ADR done. There was a little bit, but most of it was recorded, on set. And we had our Super 8 package came with a crystal sync generator. It didn't always sync up with the camera like it was supposed to. So after we cut it, and in video, we had to manipulate it a little bit to match it up. But then once we took it to a professional sound house in Chicago for the post. And they put in all the ADR effects. And I remember we did bring in a couple people to ADR a couple lines, but they did put in like the sound effects and all that kind of stuff. They told me the guy who put in all the chops, all the karate chops, after he did our movie, he went on vacation because he was there were so many of them.
Good. That's a good thing, especially if if it was synced so well. Oh, someone says, right on, guys. First time experiencing this film fest. Thank you. That makes me very happy. Welcome. You're always welcome back. And Steve says, welcome as well. I've got a couple of other things to talk about here. And then we can start going a little more into some of the more, I guess, spoilery parts. But actually, we probably are there now. I did want to ask you a little bit about the era of straight to video, shot on video, of when you decided to make this, because that was a really kind of tiny moment in time where things like this could be. I mean, obviously this didn't come out till now, so I'm not sure Ninja Zombie's a great example of it, but things like Rabid Grandmas and would find a life. Things are made directly to the home video market, often shot on camcorders, and would find an audience. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering what your personal kind of experience is with those kind of movies. Are these things that you would watch, or?
I would always, and still to this day, still do. I watch everything. And back in the day, the early '90s or the late '80s, there was a movie came out on Super 8 called A Polish Vampire in Burbank.
Yes.
And it was so successful that everybody started jumping on the Super 8 feature film bandwagon. There was a company here in Los Angeles who started selling Super 8 production packages. And my friend Don Rasmussen and I were like, well, let's start a production company. Let's start making these Super 8 features, while everybody else is doing it. So that's how we got involved with it. Was we bought the package, we made the movie. But by the time when that movie didn't sell, we thought, okay, well, there's no point in trying to make another one on Super 8. If this one's not going to sell, then we're not, why make a second one that's not going to make any money? So, so we never made a second Super 8 feature, but we had intended to do several, because like I said, at the time they were popular. But then, like you said, that window of Super 8 features was very short, and it shut fairly quickly after that. I mean, even the guy who did Polish Vampire, I think he did one more feature on Super 8, then he went to 35, so he didn't even continue it. So it was a very short window, and we were, I think there was an audience for it at the time, but I think the audience, most features kind of, didn't match up. They couldn't match up to the Hollywood thing. So even stuff shot on like video, which I watch now, I cannot stand to watch something shot on video. And there are people still doing it. A friend of mine, who's a librarian, got a movie from 2007. It was called Curse of La Llorona. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing
La Llorona.
Llorona. Okay, this was not the James Wan produced version. This was a version that was done in 2007.
I know the one you're talking about. Actually.
He sent it to me to look at. I popped it in my player, started watching it. I saw immediately it was shot on video, and I'm like, people are still doing that?
Yes.
Really?
So yeah, we've got a guy here in San Diego, Tony Mazziello, and shot on video is like it's got its choir, its followers, and people who really swear by it. Like, still,
if they like it, more power to them.
And they're doing it.
If they can make something good with it,
I mean, that that can be argued, but the search high and low now for like VHS-C tapes and things, or not the little VHS-C tapes that's a thing. Like, people are still trying to find packs of those, and you'll see groups where they're like, oh, I just found the 20-pack of VHS-Cs, and it's like it's like the treasure of the Sierra Madre. It's like striking gold. Looking up
no stinking VHS.
I still have so many VHS.
Or it should be beta. We don't need no stinking beta.
Well, I mean, not to belabor the point, but I do think that when home video became more kind of ingrained, and it was less like hardware stores looking to fill up their shelves, that's kind of what made the end of these shot on video things, because now everything was being put on video. Why would anyone rent this stuff? I do want a question here. Oh, and it's got a like to it, so I didn't even know people could do that. From Jenny, I want to ask about the film. Within the film, did you make that, or did it already exist somewhere?
I'm assuming she's talking about Night of the Raging Dead. And it's really interesting to bring that up right after I've just been ragging on things shot on video. We shot that ourselves. I wrote that and filmed it, and we shot it on video, made it black and white, and then I cast my one of my good friends from Chicago, Mark Pavia, who's also a filmmaker now. He did The Night Flyer and Fender Bender, but that's him playing Johnny in the movie with the glasses. And so we were just...
Look, there's one of them now.
There's one of them now, yeah. So I just wrote like a parody of that scene from Night of the Living Dead, and because I thought, let's put a little humor in this spot, But no, we shot that especially for Ninja Zombie, and you'd be surprised how many people have seen this and say, "Can you make this a feature? We want to see a feature film version of Night of the Raging Dead."
I mean, I think, especially these days, when you make the Republican joke, that there's gonna be a lot of people thirsting for Night of the Raging Dead. I know I am as well. So.
Well, who knows? Maybe someday.
One day, just like the Christmas special of Ninja Zombie. So Jeff has a very good idea. Good question. Did anyone let Orland down?
I don't know. As far as I know, his skeleton's still hanging there. It's just that I wanted to show that Orland, I didn't want to give Orland a happy ending, because I thought this whole thing is happening because of him, because he got Jack killed. He got, he wanted Jack's girlfriend for himself. So I didn't think that he deserved a happy ending. So I left him chained up on the wall for that reason. So if there had been a sequel, who knows, maybe we would have brought him back. But as far as I know, he's still hanging there.
There you go. You've got some laugh emojis. Someone says that. Well, Jenny says I would watch it. I suspect she's talking about Night of the Raging Dead. I loved Night of the Raging Dead. People are really into Night of the Raging Dead. So you still have the fans there with you.
Okay, that's good to know.
This ambiguous ending, Mark, just leaves it just ripe for fan fiction. So we should make a call out for fan fiction, slash fiction, all.
I don't know if I'd want to read slash fiction with the zombie and his zombie girlfriend. That might be a little too necro for my taste. But,
a little necromantic. All right.
But now I'm glad people are like, warm or have warmed up to it like that. I mean, I think that's great.
Yeah, especially in this setting, this movie is perfect for the Alamo Drafthouse, as you mentioned, the midnight crowd. I would love to see it play a midnight crowd where everybody's can get a drink and can hang out and laugh.
Oh yeah, me too.
And so I was wondering how it was going to do in this setting where people do have family at home and friends at home, but generally are watching it in this, and based on the reaction so far, I had fun with it. I have a picture. Scarlett watched the whole thing. She's not even 2 yet, so I'm a bad dad. But yeah. Oh, we've got some cameo skeleton on the wall. Would make a nice story to turn into a graphic novel. Have you ever have you ever written a graphic novel?
I have not. But the further adventures of Ninja Zombie, the comic, would be awesome, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I know some people who I can put you in touch with if that ever becomes something. Ag for Comics. I don't know what kind of ownership they have over your IP there. If there are no other questions from there, I did want to bring up a couple of things. So we know, or I know anyway, that you've gone on to make other films. I've been involved in showing a couple of them. I've shown a couple of your shorts, Candy, and I partnered with Film Out San Diego to show Bite Marks, which was so a lot of people, including yourself. In fact, let's tell a story, Mark. The way I met you is you were making Bite Marks, or you were writing Bite Marks, and you posted, so you don't even remember.
I don't remember.
You posted to the Monster Kid forum message board.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
It's starting to come back. Keep going.
And I don't remember exactly what your post was, but it was like, my name is Mark. I'm writing a gay vampire movie. And I don't even know what kind of things, maybe you had an idea that you wanted to bounce off of people in there. But I saw that and I liked some of the ideas. So I invited you on to what was once the Monster Island Resort podcast.
Yes. Episode number 1, wasn't it?
3. It was episode 3.
3, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So this goes way back to 2009, which is what, 11 years ago. Um, so it was kind of interesting to like see in a way that film grow from uh, you posting ideas on a message board from my perspective, and there's my daughter. Sorry, um, to actually seeing the film in a theater. You know, at what was once called the Birch North Park Theater. But first of all, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that evolution of filmmaking for you.
Okay.
And I also wanted to ask you something about you describing it as a gay vampire movie too. But let's talk about your filmmaking evolution first, going from Ninja Zombie, and I know that there are films in between Ninja Zombie and Bite Marks, but can you talk about that growth a little bit?
Well, I've always been interested in movies. I remember being maybe 8, 10 years old and going through the closet in the hallway of my parents' house and my mother had an old Super 8 movie camera, and I found it, and I'm like, oh, what's this? And so she bought me a roll of film, and I started, doing the thing where you got all the kids in the neighborhood to come over, and we start shooting like little movies. But it was just something for fun. I never really thought about it as a career. And then when I went to college, I was in college for like a couple of years, and then I dropped out, and I started my own. In 1980, I started my own home video rental store. It was called Galaxy Video, and we rented movies on VHS tape. And I ran that for a year, and I realized that it wasn't making me happy. I wanted to make movies, not rent them to people. So I went back to school, got my bachelor's at Indiana University, and then I went to Columbia College, Chicago. I was there when Janusz Kaminski was there, and Mauro Fiore. But I made a couple shorts there that I never really finished. They're still in my garage right now. I keep thinking, well, I've got my own editing system now. I should just pull them out and transfer the footage and just finish them off. But then we did Ninja Zombie in Chicago. And then after that, I wanted to do something different. So I did a gay romantic drama called Rhapsody. And we filmed that on Super 16 millimeter. And then I came out here with it to try to find finishing funds for it, and everybody was like, "Oh, come to us when you've got your second film, but we don't want to help you with your first one." I'm like, okay. So that's another one I finished like a long time later, and and sent it out. So it's playing on a few venues right now, like Deku and places like that. They have it. So I did that movie, and then I came out here. And this guy I was working for said to me, let's do a movie. And I'm like, okay. He goes, yeah, I guess I want to do a movie. He's like, go and, think of a couple ideas, then come and pitch them to me. And I said, I can pitch them to you right now. So I pitched him a couple ideas, and one of them was Bite Marks. But at the time, Bite Marks was going to be about a boyfriend-girlfriend hitchhiking cross country and getting picked up by a trucker. And it was going to be very, very dark and very kind of nasty. And I told him that idea, and he liked that one. But he's like, instead of a boy and a girl, can we make it a gay male couple? I'm like, sure. So I started writing the script, and as I'm writing the script, I put a joke in, and I liked it. And I put another joke in, and I liked that. And I kept putting in more jokes. And the tone just kept getting lighter and lighter and lighter until it became a full-out horror comedy. So that came out in 2011. It did really well on the film festival circuit. It must have played, 30, 40 film festivals all over the world. Then for my next movie, I had this idea for just like a kind of like a gay version of Same Time Next Year. So I wrote this script. I wrote this movie called The Last Straight Man. We filmed it in Palm Springs. We shot it in 8 days. And that one's probably been my most successful film. It really took off as far as sales and rentals and all kinds of stuff. And then I thought, I've got all these actor friends that I really want to work with, but I can only maybe use a couple of them per project. So I started working on this movie called Confessions, which was just a collection of various little monologues that in which a character reveals a secret, and they were all different tones: drama, romance, comedy, horror, and we did that for very low budget, but I thought it looked really good. I thought the acting was really good. I did a few of them. I released a few of the segments in this festivals as shorts, one of which played for you at Horrible Imaginings, the one called the Wyatt, I think. Yeah, it was the Wyatt played there.
Yeah, that's the one with Stephen Twardokis as a super creepy guy.
Yes. So, yeah, and then that played a couple. That actually, well, you awarded it a prize, and then another festival awarded a prize. So that was received pretty well. And then since then, just been trying to get some more stuff going. We've had a lot of false starts on things, and so now it's just trying to get money. The song,
the never-ending
right.
Struggle. Yes.
But I've always loved movies. I've always loved horror movies. I've always loved comedies. I love when the two are put together and they're done well. Mm-hmm. Like Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein or Fright Night.
Greatest film ever made.
Something like that. So.
Well, so going back to the thing I was going to say about bite marks, and this is actually can be generalized to a lot of things, including stuff that I'm sure that you would want to make and stuff that other people are making. At what point would bite marks not be a gay vampire movie and just a vampire movie, and the leads are just gay men?
As far as I'm concerned, that's what it is now. But when you take it to festivals and it has to be promoted a certain way, suddenly it just becomes, suddenly the word gay gets slapped onto it to help market it, to help bring in that audience. But I think, it's also, which it can do, but it's also kind of, it's also a bit of a curse, because when we went to distribute it, we thought, okay, great. It's going to appeal to the gay audience. It's going to appeal to the horror crowd. We're really going to see like a lot of people wanting this movie. And actually kind of the opposite happened. For the gay crowd was kind of put off by the blood and gore in it. And all the 12-year-old boys who wanted blood and gore were like, oh my God, there's gay stuff in it, So it kind of actually ostracized it more than it was accepted. But we got a lot of good reviews from it. We sold it. It's done really well. Someone told me, I got an email from somebody who said, oh, you know what? I was just walking through the marketplace in Ecuador. So I was walking through the street market in Ecuador, and there was a big bin full of DVDs, and Ninjas and Bite Marks was in there. And I'm like, really? I thought that was amazing. Like, all around the world, this movie is being shown and looked at. So that's really great.
It feels like even since 2011, and obviously problems have not gone away by any stretch. And in fact, I was all happy today because I had this coming up and news is coming out that makes me depressed. But even since 2011, when Bite Marks came out and the phenomenon you're seeing, I see a lot of the gay audience want more horror stuff, and more of the horror audience, at least in some contingents, be opening up to a lot more different types of stories. For example, the Scream Queen documentary just came out. We've got Attack of the Queer Wolf podcast, Heart and Knife, which came out. There's all these examples of that.
Right.
It's almost like a new revolution. I was wondering what you thought about that.
No, I think that's great. I think what you said is true. I mean, the line that was there in 2011 seems to be dissolving, but I'm not sure yet if the gay crowd is ready for like, if like say if a gay Fulci movie came along, I'm not sure if they can handle that yet. But of course, horror movie has its fans. There are themes in horror films that the LGBT community feel really strongly akin to. So yeah, I think there's always going to be an audience for it. But right now they might lean more toward the James Wan kind of stuff as opposed to, a Fulci film or something like that.
Yeah, I think largely with any group of people, it depends on who you talk to. But certainly, yeah, I can see some of the large audience that I've worked with and presented in front of here in San Diego. It's all over the place, but some stuff has been a lot of fun to show. I mean,
good.
I look forward to showing a lot more. I'm going to take a look at the chat here because we are running toward the end. I do want to acknowledge that apparently the chat froze for a second and people had to refresh. If anybody who jumped on now notices any chat freezing up, it looks like a refresh takes care of it pretty quickly. Oh yeah, people are talking about Bite Marks. I hope you all do check out Bite Marks. Seeing the trailer. Miguel, you are brightening our weekend. No, that's not Mark. I'm just presenting it. Horror is our place to go. Yes, indeed. That was from Jeff Alderman. Thank you very much, Steve. Thank you very much. Miguel and HI are always fun, and we're only fun because we were able to show Ninja Zombie, right? So I'm gonna ask the chat. There's still a bunch of people online, actually. Does anyone have any final questions for Mark before we say goodnight? I'll give them a second. Is that a creature tiki that you're drinking out of?
It is. It is a Creature from the Black Lagoon tiki mug. And I'm enjoying some delicious Big Red in it.
Oh my God. You did that on purpose. Filling me with envy. I
can't believe they don't sell it down in San Diego.
I mean, some places you can. Some places you can get it, but it's usually like covered with a faint, thin layer of fine white powder that I don't know what that's all about.
Well, this one is too, but I just rinse it under the sink and put it in the fridge. So I don't care. Nothing's going to come between me and my Big Red.
Yeah, no, I shouldn't let fine white powder.
It's fine white powder. Just don't lick it off. Just
yes.
wash it off.
As it's gotten darker, I noticed that my transparency has increased pretty dramatically. I'm a
There's all kinds of psychedelia going
on. All right. So we got some. Okay. So we have a question from Andrew about the zombie face prosthetic. And you know what? I wanted to ask about the makeup in the first place, and I never did. So thank you, Andrew. That helped me out.
The makeup was, I designed the look of the Ninja Zombie, and the makeup was done by a guy named Kurt Chiarelli in Chicago, who was a very talented sculptor and makeup artist. So he designed all the appliances for the zombie face, for Spith Rachna's true face, the incision in the chest, he did that.
Yes.
The leeches that when you stomp on them, they squish their guts out. He did those. Yeah. So Kurt did all those. He was very talented young man. So he just went off my designs and created them.
I did have one note about that has to do with the face particularly, which is I wrote, "You do fool us into wondering what Ninja Zombie is thinking." There are a couple of moments, and I think my favorite moment like this is I think it's at one point where he's thanked, and then you cut to a close up of just Ninja Zombie's face, and there's clearly something going on underneath, inside. And do you know what scene I'm talking about?
No.
Like, okay. I wish I could like say, "Hey, roll it, Sam," and because it's a very intentional cut to just a real tight close up.
Was it when he's looking through the curtains at his girlfriend topless?
No. It's of course I'm ruining my own question by not remembering exactly what happened. But he says thank you to the zombie, and the response is a tight close up on his face.
Oh, okay. So that's toward the end.
Yeah, it's toward the end.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I basically let the actor John Hill kind of run with that. I said, think what you want to think. I said, this is what he's saying to you. I pretty much gave him free reign on like how he wanted to react, and I said, and I told him, I said, look, I said your face is covered. I said, so you have to do all your acting with your eyes. I said, because that's the only part you're really going to be able to move. So that's, and I said, just do what feels right to you. So I never had any issue with what he did.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of my favorite parts because it's a little bit unexpected. Again, going to the chat here. Show that. Wow, I have to scroll up. Okay. Yeah, not bad, right? That's what happens when you ask for questions. Mark, this from Jeff Alderman. Mark, if you could do any horror flick, what would it be?
You mean like remake it?
I suspect either remake it or maybe do a classic monster or something like that. Something vaguely familiar.
Well, if I could do a classic monster, I would love to do a Creature from the Black Lagoon sequel. I wouldn't want to remake it. I would like to do a sequel to the series.
Okay.
Which could also be like a reboot. But yeah, Creature would be great. There are a lot of smaller movies that I would really love to, like a lot of Universal classics that I'd love to get my hands on, like Tarantula. I'd love to do like a really great, like scary big spider movie. I've always said I would love to do a sequel to The Car from 1977. I freaking love that movie. I'd love to be able to do a car movie. And then if someone mentioned earlier, Marvel, if I were to do a Marvel movie, I would love to do Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
As a film. So I guess those would be my top of my list choices.
You hear this, Kevin Feige? I know you're watching. Oh, similar question from Steve. Anything you may have read that you'd like to adapt?
Yeah, maybe. There was a book that came out called The Devil's Brood, and it was a sequel to the Universal Monster cycle of films. It's basically a sequel to Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, but it's done very seriously, and it brings back, like what happened to the Frankenstein monster and Dracula and the Wolfman after, the events of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. And it's actually a lot of fun, and that would give me a chance to play with the monsters, So if I want to do like a horror film like that would probably be a really good book to adapt. There's another book that I really like.
A recommendation for all of you listening too. I have not read that. I'm gonna.
It came out many years ago in paperback, and they did another one called Devil's Night, and that one blew chunks. But The Devil's Brood was really pretty cool because it was written by someone who knows these movies and loves these movies, and it was a lot of fun. If there's one I'd love to do, it's not a horror book, but It's an autobiography. It's probably my favorite book that I've ever read. It's called Harpo Speaks by Harpo Marx.
Oh, that I have read.
That book, I always go back to it. It's one of the most life-affirming books I've ever read. Just Harpo's life and the way he viewed life. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful read. And I go back to that one quite a bit. And I would love to adapt that into a movie.
The sweetest Marx brother.
Yeah.
By a pretty fair margin.
I mean, Groucho is my spirit animal, but this book by Harpo is really wonderful.
Someone said, thanks, Miguel. Wanted to know what he was drinking there. Jenny says, that's how you show that off. They're talking about your mug. The incision scene was great. I agree. Deep thoughts with Ninja Zombie. Thank you, Jenny. Yes. Oh my gosh. A lot of people are loving your ideas. Tarantula is a favorite. The car, many exclamation points. And yeah, Steve says, I'd love to look for that book. And at this moment, are there any final words you would like to give us about your unseen until the aughts, or I guess, what do we call this now? The 20s? Ninja Zombie?
Yeah. I guess just to any budding filmmakers or writers or anybody who's looking to do something creative out there, just do it. I mean, I know that can come across as glib and maybe a little trite, but the fact is, if you just think about it and don't actually do it, it's never going to happen. And even if you create, just go out and create something. If it sucks, okay, learn what made it suck and do better next time. And then don't feel like if you don't get that instant gratification that you failed. I mean, look, Ninja Zombie took 28 years to come out. And it's being regarded really well in a way that I never thought it would. So, just don't let people tell you can't do it. I mean, you need to go out and do it and show them, and we all have stories we want to tell, but, if you don't, you're just going to take them to the grave with you, and no one's going to see them or hear about them. So my advice is just to, get out there and do it and try to just get these tales out in some way, and don't let people, step on your dream. Get out there and create.
Yeah, I agree. I love those words. And frankly, for those of you creating, I'm here to amplify that voice. First of all, everybody who's in the chat right now, I do see. Oh, well, there is one question from Steve. I just have to ask it because it's true. How difficult were the fight scenes wearing the mask?
What happened was the actor John Hill, who was Ninja Zombie, and I'm surprised everybody knows this from watching the movie, but everybody's been very kind about not mentioning it. About 5 days before we started production, John Hill, who had no martial arts training, but he was a gymnast, lived on the second floor apartment in a walk-up in Chicago, and he was on his balcony cleaning the gutters, and he was leaning over the balcony to clean these gutters, and he lost his balance and fell off. Being a gymnast, he did a backflip on the way down and landed on his feet, but he sprained his ankle. He severely sprained his ankle. So he could not do any of the fight scenes. So we had to look for a fight double for the fight scenes. And we found this other guy called, I think his name was Lasso. He looked nothing like John. John is kind of short and wide, and Lasso was like tall and lean. So when you watch the fight scenes, even their hair is different. All of a sudden you'll see, like, instead of Ninja Zombie's face like this, it's suddenly like this. And, so he had the eyes of the mask were pretty open. So he didn't really have, his vision wasn't obstructed. He had a pretty good, he didn't have any trouble learning the fight scenes wearing the mask, because that was just the way it was. So he had to do all the fight scenes until the very end, when John was healed by the time we got to do the sword fight. So that's actually John doing the sword fight. And John does the first fight scene as his human self, before he gets killed. But all the Ninja Zombie fight scenes in between those are a fight double doing him because he hurt his ankle.
I didn't notice, but I also wasn't looking, so now I'm
oh, that's good.
Not gonna be able to unsee it. So we got hearts from lots of people: Jenny, Andrew, Steve. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Jenny says fantastic closing words. Jeffrey Pearson says, agree. Thank you, Mark, for participating, and me too. Thank you. Yes, you're welcome.
My pleasure. I'm having a ball.
Oh, Steve says, OMG. I suspect that's about the fight question. To everybody on the chat, thank you for doing this. I know this is a weird way to get together to watch a movie, but honestly, I've had fun. I've had fun kind of like making my face disappear to talk to everybody. And if everybody had fun, please let people know, because we do have more Q&As a couple of times on Sunday. We've got 3. We've got one at noon. We've got one at 2. We've got one at 4 to break up like all the short film Q&As. For the documentary, those will not be live because I had to wake up at 6 a.m. to talk to people from Italy. But I do have some fantastic interviews that will be part of that.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, it will be. It's great, Mark. You have the code, so the Fabio Frizzi interview is, he's so great. But I thanked my audience. I gotta thank my special guest. Thanks for letting me show your film and chatting.
I'm more than excited that you did. So thank you for doing it.
Oh, it's been a blast. Again, like right before this, I watched it with my daughter. So you gave me daddy daughter time watching Ninja Zombie.
So if anybody wants, you can find the Ninja Zombie page on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Be happy to continue this Q&A session there. If you have any questions, you can just hunt me out there. And don't stalk me.
You're watching every day since you post a poster every time you watch a movie.
That's right.
That's a lot of fun. I try to pay attention to that when I'm, around and paying attention. But thank you. I'm going to say good night to everybody. Good night.